Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops 4 In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the AUGER DMR, which is a very fun gun to use. It's a popular weapon in all modes, and it's one of my personal favorites. So I have a lot of good things to say about it, even though it isn't exactly a flawless weapon. Let's go ahead and start off with the thing that you want to know first, and by far the most important attribute of this weapon, which is its damage profile. It'll deal a colossal 62 damage up close, and a very high 55 damage at its version of medium range, and then 47 damage at long range. So this is extremely high damage at any range. It'll kill in 3 to 4 shots depending on how far away you are, and is just overall very high damage. For a single fire weapon that makes sense, it's got to be a damage pump to be competitive. Headshots unfortunately are only 10% bonus damage with a little 1.1x multiplier, so headshots aren't very useful unless you're running high caliber. Now high caliber headshots are 75% bonus damage, which is, it's huge, it's tremendous. And you can also equip high caliber 2, which will give you that headshot damage to the upper chest as well. So regular headshots are never useful. They're not going to change your shots to kill unless of course you're at extremely long range, but then you still have to get 3 of them in a row, which means they're pretty much not useful. But high caliber headshots are 2-shot kills, which is clearly the best way to use this weapon. And I wrote it as headshots, but that's high caliber to the upper chest as well. You can chunk people really, really hard with high caliber. And if I'm not mistaken, literally all of the gameplay that you see in this episode is with high caliber 2 equipped. I do sometimes spray at legs and bellies because I fall back into old bad habits, but you'll see a lot of 2-shot kills, and it's just clearly the best way to use the weapon. There's no reason to run it with anything other than high caliber equipped. Rate of fire is 310 rounds per minute. This is single fire or 1 pull per trigger, so if you have a really slow trigger finger, maybe not so great. Kind of slow overall. I mean, it's better than something like the Essex and the shotguns, but it's definitely not going to compete with full auto rifles. It is a slow firing single fire weapon, so that makes sense. The base time to kill on this weapon is poor. If you're doing it when it's a 3-shot kill weapon, or 4 if you're at long range and you're just tapping that trigger over and over and over again, you're going to get hosed. People are going to run up on you with Spitfires and sweat all over you, and you're going to have a bad day. But the time to kill is exceptional if you get multiple high caliber 2 hits. If you get those 2 headshots or 2 upper body shots in a row, or even depending on the enemy's health, maybe just 1 shot to the chest and then another shot anywhere else, you can drop people very, very effectively for this weapon. It is a night and day difference between regular and high caliber 2, and it's an excellent gun when you're running high caliber 2 on it. If you're not running high caliber, your regular 3-shot kill range is going to be approximately 18 meters, which is a little bit shorter than I thought it would be. I figured it would be 3-shot kills for a long way, but it's really not. If you run long barrel, that approximately doubles to 36 meters, which is longer range than most of your engagements will be in multiplayer, so you won't have to worry about it. I put this stat in here, but again, I don't think it's necessary as long as you're running high caliber 2, because then it's always going to be a 2-shot kill if you're hitting upper body, regardless of how far away they are, but I did think you should know. One of the unique benefits that tactical rifles have in Black Ops 4 that other games do not is it has built-in optics. There are no iron sights on this weapon. The base iron sights already has a unique optical attachment, and for this one, they're pretty good. I don't think they're as good as most of the other optical attachments. They are a little bit thicker and more obstructive around the sides, which isn't ideal, but the inner area is fantastic. Very easy to aim with. However, overall, if I could have it my way, and in this game I can, I prefer ELO sights. I think the ELO is a very nice balance between a 1x and a 2x, so it's a little more zoom than a red dot, but not so much that you're going to lose track of enemies. I think red dot's the most popular way to use the weapon, but ELO really floats my boat. The recoil on this weapon is low, but it does need some practice to get used to. It will kick just a little bit to wobble. It's just enough so that you can spam it really hard up close with no ill effects, but you can't spam people at long range. At long range, you need to slow down just a little bit to let the weapon resettle, and this is a very dangerous thing because you're going to take incoming shots and you're going to flinch and you're going to want to spam and go for the YOLO shots, but a little bit of patience really pays off for long range kills. The hip fire for the weapon is pretty bad. I mean, that kind of makes sense. It is a DMR, but it's workable with laser sight. Laser sight mathematically doesn't tighten it up that much, but it does tighten it up to a certain critical size that if you are within close range, it tightens it up to about body size. So I did have a good experience getting hipfire kills with the laser sight, even though it's not the strongest attachment. I would only recommend running laser sight if you know you're playing a hyper-aggressive enemy team that wants to rush you, or you know you're playing a small map, or you really plan to use it. Unless you're really thinking about the laser sight, you probably won't notice it on the best ways to use this weapon, which is of course posted up on a head glitch while aiming down sights. Speaking of aiming down sights, ADS time is 285 milliseconds. This is similar to rifles and SMGs, just slightly slower than them, but more or less in the same ballpark, so it doesn't have a slow ADS time. Unfortunately, you can't put quick draw or anything like that on it, so you can't really like snap aim people, but that will do the trick for you. Reload time is 1.75 seconds, which is a little bit slower than that of assault rifles. If you're running fast mags, your reload time is just slightly over a second, which is a significant improvement. I didn't run fast mags a whole lot in this episode, but I did try them out. They're nice. It makes the weapon feel better, but given the fact that it's a 2-shot kill gun and you have 20 rounds in the magazine, that is about 10 potential people you could kill before you need to reload. So in most cases, I found myself not reloading very often and very rarely needing the fast mags. So overall, I would not recommend those. I do think that FMJ is not a bad choice for the AUGER. It kills armored users, which you are more likely to run into, especially running high caliber. People are going to get tired of getting two-shotted, and they're going to put armor on, and they're going to come and rush you like a bunch of armored babies. So having FMJ to chew through that is nice, and it does allow for wall bangs. Just getting people around corners, shooting through the vents on Arsenal and things like that is a benefit of running FMJ, but it's truly not the most essential of attachments. Speaking of essential attachments, you're probably wondering, where is the operator mod section? Well, that's what's coming up next. The operator mod uniquely makes this weapon a 2-round burst DMR, such that every single time you pull the trigger, it fires 2 shots in rapid succession. There's a slight delay, and then you can do it again. So it's kind of like putting it in line with the other DMRs, because then you could have a 2-round burst here, 3 with the ABR, and then 4 with the Swordfish, or maybe 5 if you want to upgrade on that operator mod. Statistically speaking, what this does is it increases the rate of fire on this weapon to 450 rounds per minute and adds a burst delay of 220 milliseconds. So this is a real give-take operator mod. Your rate of fire increases, which means your time to kill significantly decreases. And if you're running high caliber, this will chunk people insanely fast. This will just delete people from the map. However, if you get body hits, if you don't have good aim, if you miss your shots, it does add an artificial burst delay of 220 milliseconds, which is a significant amount of time that you will not be able to follow up with your shots. Despite that drawback of having a burst delay, I do think the operator mod is a good attachment on the AUGER because it just makes it easier to use. It doesn't work my trigger finger as hard. I don't feel as mentally strained. It kind of turns the AUGER into an accuracy DMR into a little bit more of a spam weapon. When I use it, I just kind of want to spam those 2 shots downstream, let them land wherever, and let high caliber do their thing, and it generally works out. I recommend it just because it makes the weapon easy. It takes a skill weapon and makes it easy, and it's a good attachment. Speaking of good, that is my rating for the AUGER. The AUGER is good in every mode in multiplayer and for Blackout and for zombies, but it may not suit everybody's style. Not everybody likes single fire weapons. Not everybody likes, getting a hit marker or 2. Not everybody likes not being able to go full auto close quarters. Not everybody likes single fire weapons, but if you do like them, the AUGER is a good one. I think it's a good spiritual successor to the FAL from Black Ops 2, and my best class setup is running it with an ELO sight, the operator mod, and high caliber 1 and 2. If you really love the default sights, that's fine. You can put that point somewhere else or put FMJ on. Or if you really hate the operator mod because you have to follow up on it, that you can change that out too. But having high caliber 1 and 2 is essential. If you're not running high caliber with this weapon, you're just plain doing it wrong. Now let's talk about it in Blackout. As I mentioned before, the AUGER is a good weapon in Blackout 2. It's not one that I use all the time, but it is one that I've made good use of on several occasions. It has high damage, extremely long range, and you can equip a sniper scope on it, and that sniper scope is definitely the best way to use the auger. When you're running a sniper scope with this weapon, especially when you have long barrel, so it's got good ballistics, it's gonna feel like a DMR. It's gonna feel like an old school spam sniper rifle. I think it's best used like a generic brand SDM sniper rifle. It's sort of like the Great Value sniper. It's like Best Choice sniper, Kirkland's best sniper rifle. It's not going to outperform the SDM. It's not going to outperform the Paladin, but if you don't have a sniper, this one can definitely work. However, it does struggle against full auto and close quarters combat, especially with the default sights, which are typically going to be the lowest zoom sights that you're going to want to run on this weapon, with the recoil and flinch that you're going to get with people spamming you with ICRs and Maddoxes and Spitfires and stuff. I've had a very poor time fighting people close quarters combat with this, but I've had a very good time with suppressing fire, harassing fire, and getting picks at long range with the auger. Now, there is a split on this one in Blackout when it comes to what's better on it, long barrel or suppressor, and after playing with it for a bit, I think that it depends on what your range is. Ranges over 75 meters, you clearly need long barrel. The suppressor really hurts your ballistics for long range. You have to lead your shots too much. You have to arc them too much. It's way too big of a pain in the butt. But long barrel makes this like a literal laser. You can shoot further away than you can see, which is awesome. However, when people get up close to you, if you're using this in sort of an in-circle scenario, which I have, running a suppressor on it is way more valuable because you're not going to get any significant bullet drop up to 75 meters, and people really tilt hard when you start popping them for 50, 60, 70 damage per hit with a suppressor, and they have no idea where it's coming from, so it works well like that too. Guys, that is all for this episode of In Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. And it may be a little bit before the next in-depth episode because I have some operator mods to unlock for the next weapons. Drifter out.